Hello, Will here, and today we are in the daily races, and in the first race we are at Brands Hatch in the 1 week. As you can see, I qualified in not 9th, 8th, I can't count. Wonderful me. But no, as you can see, we qualified in 8th place. I can't actually remember what the name of this car fully is, and I'm not even going to bother trying to reiterate it or anything like that. All I know, it's a Porsche, and it looks odd. So, that's all we need to know. But no, we're in Brands Hatch, the Indy circuit. And so, yeah, qualifying wasn't amazingly great. You know, I was in 8th, and there's 12 people, so I qualified quite near the bottom. But I think I only really did the qualifying lap once. I didn't bother trying to improve it and improving it. I was just like, got a qualifying lap in there. I guess I think it's like, you know, respectable enough. And let's do it. Because race A, it's normally a race it's not really a race I tend to take too seriously anyway. Not that I really take any of the races too seriously. But, you know, race B and race C are normally ones where I will try a bit, put a bit more effort into it and stuff like this and stuff like that. Race A is one where I'm just normally like, yeah, I'll try and do the best I can, but it's, I'll have a bit of fun with it whilst I'm at it, So, it's nothing too serious or anything like that. So we're side by side with another Englishman. And we've just managed to get off ahead, and it was not an Englishman. I'm reading that wrong. I'm looking at that incorrectly. It was a Polish person whose name I'm not even going to bother attempting to pronounce, because it looks like it's just a whole load of jumble of letters. So, that guy. Whoever that guy is. I don't know, but whoever that guy is, you can have a go at attempting to pronounce his name yourself if you like, but I ain't gonna work involved on that. But I managed to come up into 6th, so yeah, midfield, sort of my usual area. Lately I've been doing a bit better in some of the races than others, but midfield is normally roughly where I am. Occasionally I do a little bit better, and occasionally I do a tiny little bit worse. We're coming to the end of the second lap. There's a nice enough gap between me and 7th, or the Frenchman, Leonard. If I can read that correctly from here. Leonard. I'm running this car with just like a little bit of traction control, because this car was quite leery at the back. It did skid quite easily, so I thought I'd just put a little bit of traction control in it just to make sure I don't go spearing off into the trees and wrecking the car. Not that that's actually even possible in the game, but the principle's there. It's basically just so I don't go completely nutty tits up, basically. So I managed to overtake the German, getting the 5th. The Frenchman just takes a massive cut there. I don't know if he got a penalty for that. He does serve a penalty at one point, so I do believe he did get a penalty for that. If he didn't, then how the hell did he not get a penalty for that? But you see, he's right up with us now, but that's just because he decided to make a massive cut on that corner. Massive cut. I did get overtaken by the German. That's because on that corner I did sort of go a bit. I think I wasn't as fast through that corner as the German, so the Germans were able to overtake. And then I take a little cut because I turned in too early. I turned there a little bit too. I'm lucky enough I didn't get a penalty, because obviously it's most likely the game sort of said like, oh, he's made a mistake. He's made an error. He's not doing it on purpose. It's a mistake. All right, we won't give him a penalty for that. So it's all like, but yeah, I turned in a little bit too early there. Not that it really cost me anything, I don't think. Anyway, but an error is an error. So yeah, as you can see, the Frenchman did have a penalty to serve, but I don't think it was a long penalty though. Not for cutting a corner anyway. I don't know, he should have got at least, I don't know, a second penalty, 1 second penalty for that kind of cut. That was a big cut. Obviously it wasn't huge, because otherwise he would have got reset, but, a bit more punishment, I reckon, should have been given to him. But that's just my thoughts. But either way, a second penalty, half second penalty, a second penalty can be quite damaging. Again, it just depends on where you are in the race, I suppose, really. So, you know, go for a little drift around the corner, sort of like miss the apex completely. But again, in this race, it's all just about I'm just all about having just a little bit of fun. Yeah, try and do what I can, but have a little bit of fun whilst I'm at it. You know, because as I think in race A, the cars are always quite, apart from maybe like if you do it in a race where the cars are a bit more modern, if the cars are a little bit older like this one, then they normally tend to be quite a slidey, slippy, slidey car. So it's always have a nice bit of fun. Yeah, they're not fast, or granted, they're not fast over that, but you know, you can have a nice little bit of slip slide around the track. Oh, the Frenchman was able to get for that corner a bit quicker, and I don't think he cut it this time. I don't think he cut any corner anywhere that time. I don't think. So you know, his pass was a legitimate pass. So we're on to the final lap. So yeah, again, yeah, this race wasn't exactly like immensely eventful. Race 8, I suppose it depends on how close the racing is. If they're quite close, it can be quite eventful, but if the field's quite spread out, then it's normally a bit slower paced and not like immensely thing. Now, see, the problem is that part there, where the Frenchman and the German went off. You don't get a penalty if you go off there. Which personally myself I think you should, because technically you're going off the track there. You're going off of it. But I don't know, maybe it's just because you're coming around the corner at that point and the game never really recognises it. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But I would imagine you would have got a penalty there. But oh well, what can you do? So coming in 6th, so you know, managed to raise a couple of positions. You know, I'm not going to argue with that. You know, at least I, you know, didn't come stone at last, didn't rage quit, or didn't get disconnected. Alright about that. So that's it for race A. Now on to race B. Here at Le Mans. So you can see my qualifying in this race went a hell of a lot better. I'm actually qualified in 3rd place. So, very respectable place. Car numbers, still don't fucking get them. I really don't. Because I think this race, I'm not 100% sure, but I think in this race there was only a couple of B class drivers, which I'm one of them. There was still quite a few C class drivers, yet I'm car number 9, so I still don't fucking get it. But either way, if driver rating is affected by your position to your corresponding car number to correspond how your race actually goes in the way to penalties and this, that and the other, then I'm already up there, so not all that bad really. So, but this race, considering to what lap time I reckon I could pull off, really I probably personally myself would have been on pole, but I didn't bother doing too much qualifying because I just couldn't be arsed to do too much qualifying, to be honest. But I knew I can make it up in the race, so it's just like, alright, I'll just carry on, I'll just see how we do. But unfortunately this race didn't go horrible, it just, some points in it wasn't smooth, shall we say. We're coming onto the long back straight, and we got Swift Kobo in 1st. Still me in 3rd, just trotting along, la-di-da-di-da, in the McLaren F1, which you see in the intro video. Now unfortunately right here, I completely missed my braking point, and I just shot off like a rocket. Completely missed my braking point, because what I was using as my brake marker there was, there's a guy on the side. He's like in a green fluorescent jacket, and I was using him as a braking point because there's no braking boards at that point. So I was using him as a braking point because it seemed to be a pretty good standard place to basically brake. But unfortunately, since I was going on the outside of the Corvette, I couldn't see where the little green man was. So it was like he disappeared. And I didn't have that brake marker anymore. So And plus, due to the fact that I was like, I was a bit, I was just like, where's the green man? Where's the green man? Where's the green man? Oh crap! I've got a break. And but obviously I just shot off like a rocket. Lucky enough though, it didn't actually cost me that many positions. Okay, I did get in the second at that point, but overall, I've only really dropped down. Okay, I've dropped down to 4th, but even then, I still haven't lost that many positions, considering I went off like a pleb. Because the green man didn't show up because he's a little bastard. But then that's why sometimes you got to make sure that your brake markers are something that's quite easy to see. The little green man isn't always the easiest thing to bloody see. So kind of my own fault as well, really, for giving myself such an unreliable brake marker. But if I can see it, I can use it, and if I know I can use it, then I'll know where to brake. But as you can see, I've managed to climb back up into second, easy enough, quite easy. Climb back in the second, and then unfortunately go wide on this corner. Just didn't take that corner properly, unfortunately, and dropped back down the 4th. So you can see what I said a little moment ago, why this wasn't the smoothest race. Unfortunately, those mistakes. Okay, the first one didn't really cost me all that much. I suppose that one didn't really cost me that much either. It's just sort of like reset things back to how they were when I went off the first time round. But there's one corner on here where I do get a penalty later on. I get 2 penalties in this race in the end. One, which isn't a massive inconvenience, because it wasn't there. Surprisingly enough, for some reason, it's not there where I get the penalty. It's hard to bloody explain. I'll have to point it out where it is. Oh, thank you for. I can't read your name on here, unfortunately. It's too blurry, but. Whoever's name that was, thank you for liking the activity. I mean, I already know that he liked it, but I can't read his name because my screen is tiny and it's all blurred in writing. But yeah, there's a corner on here. It's sort of like after. It's the double corner before where I went wide. And there's a corner there where I kept getting the penalty. It was only a half-second penalty, but I got penalties there quite easily, and I'm not too sure exactly where I was going wrong. At the end of it, I wasn't exactly sure exactly where. It's sort of like, what is the track limit? Because it's sort of like, yeah, I had that one point where he saw me go wide, and I come back on, but I didn't get a penalty for that one. Don't technically rude it. I'm more off the track than where I was in one of the corners where I do get a penalty, which is really, really peculiar. So I don't know. But mind you, this track it's not a track I've been on that many times, so I don't exactly know where all the track limits directly are. So it's sort of like. It was probably very easy for me to make a little mistake here and there. So you can see I'm serving, serving penalty. Back up on it, and I've dropped down to 5th. So, lost another position, but all in all, still doing not too bad. Okay, yeah, I just started 3rd, but dropping a couple of positions is not as bad, say, as dropping 10 positions. So, I'm still not gonna. I'm at this point. I'm in 5th, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I've made a couple of mistakes, especially with that first chicane in the first lap. That was a massive mistake from me, and going wide on another corner was probably, was also a mistake. And probably going wide on another one where the one where I went out. It seems like I got very wide. That's probably also a mistake on my part. So it's like. I'm making like little mistakes, silly mistakes, and that's overall it's costing me. But lucky enough, it's not costing me an arm and a leg. It's just costing me a couple of fingers, really. A couple of fingers here, a couple of these things, 2 of these. It's costing me 2 of these. So we're getting to about 3rd for the lap now. So yeah, my lap time was 4:14. That's not very good. I think my qualifying lap was like a 4 minutes 4. But I know that my qualifying lap of 4 minutes 4 is also very shit. So you can see German in the GT40 went off there, so I managed to climb up in position, get up to 4th, which is nice. Now I think again I've got another half a second penalty for that for the area just before that corner we just went round. Again, I got a penalty in that area, and I don't exactly know where. It's like, what the fuck? Where is the track limit? Because there's no direct guidance of what the track limit is there, where you can't even fucking guess. Unfortunately, I've got to have second penalty, but the Corvette in second also does actually have a 2-second penalty. So, does he have enough of a penalty for me to be able to actually get past him? Because the GT40 who's in front of me doesn't have a penalty. So there's no way I'm going to get past him. It's basically... So second is definitely out grabs. Third may possibly be on for grabs here. So you can see I'm serving my penalty. Both me and Corvette just finished serving our penalties. I'm right behind him, but I just can't get past him at the end. So all in all, in the end, I do finish 4th. If I didn't have that half-second penalty at the end, I would have got 3rd, which would have basically been, it would have been a podium finish. Would have been where I started, but it would have been a podium finish. But after all those mistakes, 4th place, I'm not going to argue. I could have got a better result, but it was a good enough result for me to be happy. So on to the final race. And here we are at race C, at Autopolis. Oh dear. Now Autopolis, if you've seen previous videos of mine a couple of times, you would come real. I've said before that Autopolis is not my strongest track, but over time I have definitely gotten better at it. Definitely. You can see I've qualified in 3rd, and my qualifying time was, I think it's like 1:28.1 or 1:28.2. Now I know that's about 3.5 seconds off the top 10s, but for me on Autopolis, I don't mean that my qualifying time's too bad, especially by the fact that I'm qualifying in 3rd place. So I'm going to come into the first corner. I'm going to go on the inside. Now, unfortunately, I do get a little bit of a knock there from the. I think it was a Frenchman, Homer. I don't know how he wants it to be pronounced, but I do get a little knock there, which does make me slightly knock into the Englishman who was also there at that point. I think his name's like Gilbert something. I think it's Gilbert. I can't read it from here, but I think it's Gilbert. Now, lucky enough, Gilbert didn't go off. He didn't go off, so I didn't get a penalty. But I did slightly knock him, going a little bit wide there. But the only reason why I think the Frenchman did slightly give me a little bit of a bump was that I did lightly brake whilst going around, because I thought that I was in belief that I was going to possibly hit, or basically do the same thing to the English guy than what I did to the French guy if I didn't slow down just a little tiny bit. But obviously, unfortunately, the French guy didn't know that. So that slight little knocking in accident was, yeah, it was my fault. I will grant you, it was my fault. But I think in the end I would have actually possibly got past the English guy anyway, because I wasn't on the inside, so there was a very good chance I would have, or I just would have used the overtake and just overtaken him anyway. So, but I probably should have just eased off the accelerator rather than brake. But it didn't cause any major there was no major incident, no major accident. So, it's not like I ruined anybody's race. But the Swedish guy, can't read his name from here. He's like Uniquithi. I'm happy I quite stayed him, because I did watch this replay from other perspectives whilst I was finding out what happened on the first turn in the first lap. And I did watch some other people's races, because there's one thing, as you'll see on the map a little bit later on within the next couple of laps, I do end up opening a massive gap. I think overall the biggest the gap got was like 10 seconds. Was a 10-second gap. Which I know, yeah, 10 seconds in general isn't massively long in general, but in racing 10 seconds is quite big. So I was wondering to find out what the hell was going on. Why was there that massive gap? And the Swede Uniquiffy, he was quite a bit of a bumpy sort of, he didn't like ram people, but he did like give him a nudge, give him a push, give him a little punt here and there. So he wasn't like the cleanest driver, basically. So he didn't get in the penalty. But then also, so as you can see now, the gap on the race map, you can see just how much of a gap I've opened up. But that's because everybody from basically second, third, maybe down to sort of like fifth, they're all fighting with each other. They're not working with each other to try and catch up with me. They're just fighting with each other and bumping each other and just generally just fighting with each other, which slows them down. And it slows them down. It allows me to open up a gap. And though I don't race the smoothest, I will say, to be honest with you, because my qualifying time was a 128.2. My fastest lap in the end was like a 130.4. So I was about like 2 seconds off pace throughout the whole entire race. I was pretty much 2 seconds off pace. So I was driving slower than what I did in the qualifying. So I wasn't driving to my full peak of potential. Yeah, I'm still able to open up a massive gap like that, and I think by lap 4 it growing even bigger by lap 4, because everyone was just too busy fighting with each other. If anyone's watching this and you're a person who fights quite a bit with other drivers, but because you're trying to catch up with someone who's very, very far ahead, your best thing to do is to not fight with the other drivers. If you're able to get past them, and just fucking go. Just go. Because if you get stuck in fighting with people all the time, you're going to lose time. And that gap is going to open up more and more and more, as you're probably seeing on my race map in this video. Is that gap is just opening up slowly, bit by bit by bit. Now there is a point where it does drop down, and there are two drivers, one driver in particular, who was able to close that gap down between me and him, or her, because it could be a female driver, I'm not 100% sure. And that driver is now in second place. Loeb, I'm going to call it Loeb because it's L-O-E-B. And I'm going to assume it's pronounced Loeb. So Loeb Jr., but I'm just going to call him Loeb for short. Now, yeah, at the moment there is a massive gap between me and Loeb, but he does close that gap down because he gets past everyone who's fighting, opens up a little bit of a gap between everyone who's fighting. So, and then since he's got that comfortable gap, he can just concentrate on trying to catch up with me, in which he does. So overall, he is the faster driver. But since he was stuck at the back, a bit further down the pack, he had to try and fight between everyone, to fight to get past everybody else, which kind of bugged up his race a little wee bit, or at least didn't help him. Now, you see, unfortunately, I did go off a little bit. This is the problem though. This may sound like a racist excuse, and it probably is a racist excuse, but it's the only thing I can really say. It didn't happen when it didn't always happen when I'm like in first, because that corner was a bit shit, to be honest. Yeah, but it's not something that always happens when I'm in first, but it's when I'm like, if I'm doing well in the race. Or if I'm not doing too well in the race and I'm trying to fucking catch up and get past people because I know I am faster than them, but they just don't piss and move. I'll sort of be alright, I'll sort of the whole colour of that. And then for some reason, this hand, my right hand, will just start to shake a little bit. I don't know why, it's really freaking annoying. It's not because of nerves. I don't know, people, you could say it is nerves, I don't know, but it doesn't always happen when I'm in a really, really good position like I am now with being in first, and see, the gap has closed down. I think by now it's about 6 or 7 second gap, where at one point it was 10. So I don't know if it's just because I'm thinking, oh god, he's closing the gap, I need to push harder. So that could be causing my right hand to shake a little bit. But it's freaking annoying. Freaking kill you, stupid ass fucking hand. But it doesn't always happen. It happened a couple of times. For some reason, it mainly happened during that 5th lap. I don't know why. But I know that probably sounds like a racer's excuse. But it's the only thing I can think of. I mean, yeah, I probably wasn't the smoothest around the track in the first place. But considering that I was consistent with the 130s, and yeah, you know, and that last lap was a 133. So this is all shit. Here, this little bastard cost me 3 seconds. But as you can see, I've been first pretty much the whole fucking race. So it's sort of like I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing really well here. I don't want to fuck this up. So that's probably another thing that probably. That's sort of probably the reason why my hand was all wibbly wobbly. Because I was at the same time I was thinking, if I make a mistake, it's going to really fuck things up for me. And this, I've been first near enough the whole entire goddamn race. Because, my god, the first time I did this race, my god, it pissed me off. I had to race quit on the first race. Okay, I made a few mistakes, which caused, where, going wide and stuff like that. Which, okay, that's my error. Yeah, my mistake, my error. I accept that. But there was always points where the car, I'd be going around the corner, and I'd be lightly turning, but then the car would just suddenly just go straight. It would just go straight. I don't know why, and that, which then would cause me to go off a little bit, cost me positions, cost me time, and that got quite annoying. But I was just thinking maybe I'm doing something wrong there. And then I got to about like lap 6. I had to pit in because for some reason I used a shit ton of fuel. And I was thinking, oh, hold on, because at the moment I'm on lap 7, and I've still got enough fuel to basically finish off this lap. But in the last race, I got to lap 5, getting close to the end of lap 5, against lap 6, and I had to pit because my fuel was near enough gone. And I was like, how? How did that happen? And then came out the pits. Got around the first couple of corners fine, and then all of a sudden I found out why my fuel consumption was going down a lot quicker, why the car sometimes would just go straight even though I was trying to turn it. It's because the controller, this button here, the brake button, not on this controller, on a different controller, but the brake button was getting stuck. It was getting stuck. It only lightly stuck. It was only getting lightly stuck. But it was getting stuck with it, and I wasn't noticing at first until the point where it got stuck a little bit more, with a bit more force basically, and caused basically the car to basically pretty much come to a stop because it just got fucking stuck. So the brake button basically, the brake button basically fucked up. It went wrong. And I had to quit the race because the controller broken. So I've had to replace the controller. Lucky enough this brake button didn't stick, hasn't broken yet, so all is good. But that's the reason why I had to quit the first race, because the brake button let me down. It just decided to go all fucky on me. So, and there wasn't much I could do about it. So now that old controller is now broken, because I broke it a bit more, because I thought, well, it's broken, I might as well just break it a bit more, have a look inside, see what it looks like inside. I've never looked inside a controller, so it's like, yeah, fuck it. And it was already kind of broken a bit on one of the handles anyway, so it's like, yeah, screw it. And now it's broken in my bin. But I got another controller. Lucky enough I had a second controller. I didn't have to go out and get a new one, I already had a second controller. So I could do this race. So I've done my pitting. Come out on 3rd. So first time for a large chunk of the race where I'm not in first place, and it's like, yeah. But I didn't push like too massively hard on here, because I wanted to conserve just a little bit of fuel, just in case there was a point where I did make a mistake or did have to push a little bit more. So I would end up needing to use a little bit more fuel because I only just about to put in just a little bit extra to what I needed. So I've got like just a little bit extra just in case if I need to push a bit more somewhere. But also at the same time, I knew that those guys were going to pit. Now I don't know what happened with this Spanish guy because I watched the replay to see what happened to him because I realised because when I watched this replay first time round just to have a little watch on it, I saw that the Spanish guy just went straight on and just went into the wall outside the pit, and I was thinking, what the hell happened there? I don't know if he I don't know if he tried either tried to ram the Swedish guy. I don't know, because maybe he got pissed off by the Swedish bloke, or he didn't know the direction you had to go to get into the pit lane, because obviously you have to do that. There's a sharp left and a sharp right to get into the pit lane, or if it was because he had a connection error or something. I'm not 100% sure what happened there. But I know he does. I know now he has left because he did leave the race after that because basically he got into a position where he couldn't recover because he was pretty much on empty on fuel by that point. So if he ran out of fuel, he was not going to get into the pits. So in the end, obviously he left because something went wrong somewhere. So at this point, there is still a gap between me and second. I think the gap at this point it was about something like about 6.5 seconds around there, maybe 6.3, something like that. Now it's these two drivers, second and third place now, are the ones who are able to close down the gap from me. So you can see you can actually see drivers in the background. Hooray! I'm not going to try and pronounce the German's full name because I can't. Well, one, I can't read it from here, and two, I did look at it earlier on, and I don't know how you pronounce it. But I know it ends in Nectar, so I'm going to call him Nectar for short. So Nectar and Loeb were basically two drivers who were probably at least some of the fastest drivers on the track, or at least some of the fastest drivers on the track who were able to get out of the ruckus of a small group of people. Thank you, Akuro, for liking some activity of mine. But yeah, so Nectar and Loeb were able to close that gap down because they were able to go. They were going faster. They were able to get around the track faster than me. I wasn't the fastest around the track by far. So, but it's a question of I think at this point it's about a 6-second gap, maybe just getting a little bit under 6 seconds. I think at this point, and there's still 3 laps to go. So it is possible for me to fuck up, it is possible for them to close the gaps down really, really badly. Or do I manage to hold on to first place? Who knows, I'll have to see what happens. So, starting on the lap 11. So my fastest lap time so far is a 1:30.4. So that's about 2.2 seconds off my qualifying lap. So I am literally off pace by 2 seconds. Easily off pace by 2 seconds. And I don't know why. It's probably just because I'm just being a bit more conservative with the car, because I know there's tyre wear, there's fuel to think about, but obviously in qualifying there isn't any of that, so you can just go flat out. But obviously in a race you do have to think a bit more about your fuel and the tyre situation. But I'm going to still try and hold off that gap if I can from Nectar and Loeb and see if I can get my 3rd victory. Because I don't know, I am in position to get my 3rd online victory. My last one was, I think it's like 3 weeks ago, something like that now. It was the race when we had the Daihatsu Copen in the Tokyo track with the stupidly long bloody straight. Where it took you 1.5 million years, well, because it was only a 1 lap race though, so that was really odd. And it's like, but that was my last time, and I think that was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think, something like that. And that was the last time I got I had my last online race victory. I could have possibly got it in Le Mans if I didn't make those mistakes, but unfortunately, sometimes you make mistakes. So now on the penultimate lap, And I think now that gap, because unfortunately I'm doing this via the replay this time, and you know, there's no timer because I'm not recording from the server. But I think by now that gap is down to about 3.5 seconds, so they've managed to close that gap at least by about a second and a half by this point. So it still is a question of basically, can I hold off? Can I basically push hard enough to keep ahead of them? Or do I go wrong and bottle it and cost myself the victory? So coming into like the twisty section, twisty section. A section that I did alright, and a lot most of the time. Sometimes I did, you know, so it wasn't always my smoothest though, but you know, it's an area where I didn't do too badly. Now I can't remember which corner it is, but there's a corner in here which at one part it may have already gone past that. I don't know. But was it here? Yeah. Now there, I did scare myself a little bit. I was just like, oh shit, maybe I've cut that corner. I was like, because I thought I was going to get myself a penalty, which could have possibly really buggered me up, especially with the rate that that Nectar and Lobe were catching up. Because you can see they're just there, they're not that far behind. But lucky enough, I did not get a penalty, and when I found out I didn't have a penalty, I was like, oh, thank Lord for that. But no, I gave myself a little tiny scare there, thinking, oh god, I cut the corner, it's going to give me a penalty. And at this rate, even a half a second penalty could be quite damaging. Especially by the fact that, you know, they're only about 3 seconds behind me. And we're all in fast cars, and if they catch up and get to a point and they see, ooh, we are in the overtake range, we're gonna think about using it, and then they would use it to possibly overtake and actually take first place. So, but luckily enough for me, I didn't get that penalty. And I think that was lucky. I think just a tiny little bit more to what would have been more to the left. Just a tiny bit more to the left, and I would have got that penalty. So we're going to the last, not major corner. I've managed to hold him off. And get my third online victory. Lovely. But you know, so I kind of got lucky in that first corner. Because there was no major accidents. Now, yeah, I did brake a little bit. Probably, I did brake at a bit of an awkward place. But obviously, as I said earlier, I did brake there just a little tiny bit because I believed at that point that if I carried on, I would have hit the English person myself. So I wanted to try and avoid that a little bit. It's just fortunately I got hit by a French driver, which then pushed me into the English driver. But lucky enough, he didn't go off track. It just, unfortunately, went a bit wide, unfortunately. Into which I do apologise about that. But I hope you liked this video. And please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, I will see you at the finishing line. Bye bye.